You just can't replace hard work. I'm sorry. I've spent millions of dollars trying, I'm talking about for the audience. I've tried. And it's like, you just can't replace being able to sit down for 3 hours and talk to 25 human beings. That right there by itself, there's nothing out there right now. Now, this might change, but nothing right now that in 3 hours time, you can speak with 25 of your ideal client avatars. They're just not. And so, anyway, with that, I'm going to open this up for Q&A. Simon, let's go to you first, my friend.
I guess, could y'all share a little bit about what it's like working together as a couple and how y'all split the work up?
Yeah. So he's doing all the prospecting right now. I come in, I've been trying to figure out how to get better systems in place so that somebody else can replicate what I've been doing. So I've been doing a lot of that, trying to streamline things. So I'm sitting here side by side with him. I normally have to put headphones on so I don't have to listen to us prospecting. And then he'll be passing me over, like if he gets a lead sheet or something like that, I'll take that, I'll input it into Mailbox Power, I'll write the handwritten note card. I will set them up on their MLS subscription so that I know that all that's done, they're taken care of. Make sure that he did we send off like a video text to them right away as soon as we get off the phone, make sure that's done. And then I'm responding to emails throughout the day. I've been trying to do hiring, so all the admin stuff, lockboxes running around.
Yeah.
You're doing all the client servicing too, right? If you have a client, you're making sure you're updating them, getting paperwork, addendums, inspections, appraisals.
We haven't teased me for that, but yeah, a lot of the paperwork's taken care of. But then I'm also doing, I can't remember. Oh, like the seller updates weekly, doing those, making sure that I'm keeping an eye on that.
Sends out the Loom Sniper videos.
I've been doing Loom Sniper videos. I just started that. And then I also
a lot better to have her face on it than your face, Ian, for sure.
And then there's something else that I do. Maybe it'll come back to me. I don't know.
She does all the listing prep, or the listing appointment preparation. Like I don't even know how to do a CMA.
I've also been doing like the weekly email content, and our daily stories, and make sure that we post on that every day. I've been adding people to our SOI database.
Ian, what do you even do, man?
That's amazing, Taylor.
I prospect and I go on appointments.
That's what I do all day, essentially.
I get it. Prospecting is not easy. On the Loom videos, what kind of views are y'all getting? Because I've done them and I've set 3 appointments that way, but it's like 1 in every 20 videos somebody watches.
So I will say I have not even looked at statistics on it. I didn't know that there really was. I just started doing the Loom videos maybe like
2 weeks ago,
3 weeks ago, and I haven't been able to do it consistently yet. So
but that's awesome. 3 appointments from 20 videos. That's a really
no. That was from like 100 videos. I'm talking about every 20 videos somebody watches it.
That's okay. From 100 videos to set 3 appointments is really good.
Yeah. I started making sure that I was doing them really quickly, so I'm not spending a whole bunch of time on one, because before I was like pulling up the cloud CMA and going through and spending a lot of time on it and not knowing whether or not they're even going to open it. I started to cut that down a little bit, but making sure that it still looks very personalized to them. I'm still pulling up their property, and then I am just pulling up their neighborhood and then going to the stats section and going like really briefly, like, look at these days on market. Yours was much higher than that. I think something might be wrong here. Feel free to reach out if you want. And then our info at the end, and then send it off.
I'll throw in, just because I coach all 3 of you, that strategy is a really good opportunity for lead follow-up, by the way. So on lead follow-up, and if you're watching this video right now and you're not earning a minimum of $10,000 a month every month, there's a link in the description. You can get instant access to my free 6-figure listing agent course, where I show you step-by-step how to scale your income as a listing agent working 4 to 5 days a week. Just click the link in the description to get started. Just send those videos. Yeah. So anyway, keep going.
Okay.
So yeah,
that's great. I've been needing new follow-up techniques. And I guess can I ask one more question and I'll get out of y'all?
Please.
Okay, thanks. And Brandon, you can chime in. But I'm asking because I would like to get my girlfriend, soon to be, as y'all know from yesterday, fiance, involved in the real estate business. She's graduating in May in marketing. And I think this would be from what she's told me, she wants to be in marketing and sales. This is the perfect job for her. But she has like a lot of resistance because it's something that I'm doing. And so I don't know how y'all might suggest, y'all are probably going to tell me not just to leave her alone, right? But how would you suggest like presenting the opportunity to her in a way that she might find it interesting?
So
good
maybe
question.
Socratically, like I wonder who would be able to help me with these things I need help with in my
Looking
business.
for somebody that has
'Cause
experience in marketing.
I don't think I could ever be like, Taylor, you gotta get in the business. Like she wanted to do it. It was her thing that she wanted to do and jump in with me and help. And her role has gone from one to the other and really, really progressed to where she does more of the real estate than I do. And I always say I just work here.
Yeah, and I'll add in, Simon. I guess the yes, you can use all the way we teach as far as communication. However, but when you break all that apart, I guess for you guys, Taylor and Ian, I mean, how much were you making as a nurse?
Oh God, I was making maybe
$50 an hour.
well, I think I was like 40 by the time I quit. And I hated it so much that I would only work as minimal as I possibly could to get the bills paid because I worked per diem. So, I mean, I would only work, God, sometimes 12 hours a week. That's how bad I hated it. But
Yeah. So the question, Simon, for your fiance is like, okay, a question could be, do you think from an income potential that working for yourself or working for an employer, the upside would be greater, right? The obvious answer is working for yourself, right? And so like for her, from an opportunistic standpoint, that's why we're all here. That's what brings us into this space, and for Ian and Taylor, like next year, I mean, there is no nursing job that would pay Taylor 250 grand. There just isn't. There isn't. And then where she could be with her kids and she could do her own thing with her husband and she could be in the home. And like, I just don't know if you could ever replace that, putting even money aside, So like when I'm looking at the opportunity we have in real estate, it's pretty compelling.
Yeah, I know some people don't want to work with their spouse and they're like, oh no, that's too much. But
so many
I
people.
honestly, I love it. I have zero complaints.
I like working with you.
It's fun. I don't know. I feel like when you really know somebody and you're in this business together where you have this goal and this vision that you want to do together and you both want it so badly that you're able to really like ping pong off each other to excel in your growth and help each other in each other's weaknesses. And
And like Brandon said a few months ago, like you say in your business, feedback is a gift. Sometimes it's a very pointy gift, but it's a gift either way.
Yeah. And I would just say, like, from a trust perspective, you're dealing with money. You're hopefully, Simon, you guys are going to share some financial stuff in your future if you're going to marry this woman. And it's like, well, who do you trust with the clients? Who do you trust with the money? And then you start to look at, okay, well, if you're going to go do something different and we're going to add funds into this bank account together, what could we do if we were doing something together, right? And then you get exponential results. Instead of you doing this thing, then you having to figure it out and you have to hire these other people. What could you do if you joined forces? I think that Ian and Taylor is a great example of that, right? So anyway, all those things are things to consider.
That's exactly what my thought was. Like, if I'm going to hire somebody, work with somebody, I'd rather it be with somebody that I love, that I already split money with anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, that totally makes sense. And she's been complaining that all I talk about is real estate. So I'm like, girl, if you just get a job with me, then we could talk about real estate together.
I mean, if you guys drive each other nuts, you could even work in separate spaces. Like, we don't have to, like, if we didn't have so many kids,
right there, but
we could work in separate rooms. It's not like we need to necessarily be side by side all day. So that's always an option too. If that's like one of her concerns is being together too much. It doesn't really have to be together.
Yeah.
Good deal. Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, Simon. Go ahead, Xavier.
Okay. First of all, thank you guys. There's a lot of nuggets I took from this video, so thank you. I was gonna ask, you guys were picky about what listings you're gonna take. Would it be a good idea to be picky in the beginning, or do you think it's worth it to kind of go through the experiences in the beginning and then be picky later?
Can I ask you a question about that?
Yeah.
If I told you that you were going to take a listing today and it wasn't going to sell for 250 or 300 days, would you take it? just to have something to do?
Honestly,
If I told you you were going to end back up on the expired list again, I mean, would you take that listing?
no, in that case, no.
I think it depends. Like if it's a really unsaleable property, I definitely would shy away from it. And if it's a seller that's really extremely difficult, and you know your personalities are not going to mesh, don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
So we had a client in a really, really tough subdivision, and we took the listing because it was a referral from a friend. And the average days on market was 190, and the average list sold ratio was like 82. And we got him a 98% of ask offer in under 30 days. And he asked us if we would cut our commission
Because it was
So-
5K less
so
than his
he would
original
still net
asking.
exactly what he needed to net. And we
Told him no.
said no.
But he
And
was
I
very
just-
difficult.
He was a total jerk.
But the only reason, like his personality type was red flag to me for sure right away. And I was right. You know, your gut, in my opinion, always knows. And I knew he was gonna be a pain in the butt, but he was a personal referral from an agent that we really enjoy getting his referral business from. So we did take, in that case, that listing. And I would say, I guess it was worth it for that to keep the relationship between the other agent, but it was hard.
Let me ask you, let me just jump in here because you guys aren't coaches, right? And so let me just ask Xavier's question a different way.
Okay.
Would it be fair that you go into these situations with being picky and choosy as a result of the mistakes you've made in the past?
Oh, yeah.
And what Xavier's saying is, if you could go back, would you have erased the mistakes? In other words, how would you, right? So that's the question Xavier meant to ask, correct, Xavier?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that we have the right question, I got your back, Xavier. What he's asking is, dude, I'm a new agent. I've never taken a listing before. So I don't know who's going to be a pain in the ass. I don't know what you guys are talking about with a saleable listing because I don't have the experience you have. And so as a new agent, is there value in the early days for the first year or two to gain your perspective by failing? Is there value in it?
Yeah,
It's
if
like-
you can afford it. Absolutely.
Well, it's like this. It's like your kids are going to ride bikes, Ian, Taylor, or they probably already do. The question would be like, okay, would you, like, knowing what you know now, like you go from training wheels to then taking those things off and falling a few times to then being able to ride the bike and the freedom that gives you to ride that bike, would you erase all of that for the couple of scuffed knees and elbows that it took to get there? No one would ever replace that. And so what Xavier is saying is, are the scuffed knees worth it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know anything if it weren't for our past, right? So
Does that help you, Xavier? Is that what you're meaning to ask?
Yeah, because when I'm circle prospecting, I'm finding areas that I'm struggling with conversations with the people that live there and just that kind of thing. So I'm wondering if it's worth it to be more picky in that aspect. Same with expireds. Should I be more picky with who I'm calling with expireds and canceleds, or would it be worth it to just call everybody?
business decision you have to make, right?
Yeah.
In the beginning, I would say calling everybody's not going to hurt because it's going to be good practice too, being on
Yeah.
the phone.
When we jumped on the phone, we called anybody and everybody
Yeah.
and set a bunch of appointments and went on a bunch of appointments and
Mhm.
took some listings that were pretty great and some of them were not so great. And yeah. it was
And I
valuable.
would say as a result of that, Xavier, they are where they are now. And so I think there's a lot of value. Like, we are a result of the mistakes we've made in our past. That's how we learn. And so if you're asking if there's a world where you can never make a mistake and get to where they are, I don't believe that there is. I think that you have to go through that in order to have the perspective. And so the idea of saying, how can I build this business without ever making a mistake and having that perspective and mindset, I don't know if it's possible. And so I would actually embrace some failure and embrace some risks in the early days. Ian and Taylor can speak from this because they have 10 years worth of mistakes. And so I would never want to take that away from Xavier.
Yeah, absolutely. We made a big mistake on a listing in October that didn't sell. We spent a bunch of money on
And you learned.
it. And
Yeah. And
he was
yeah.
like, well, should I just rent it out? And we were on the market for a couple of months and guess what he did? He rented it out.
Yeah. Xavier, any other questions, or is that helpful?
Ian did mention that he sticks to the script.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if verbatim or not, but I've been
Mhm.
trying to be more framework minded and less script, would it be helpful if I just stuck to the script verbatim and then did framework later on in the future?
The script kind of gives you the framework in a way that's super conversational, especially the new ones. So you kind of, if you're really having the conversation, you're going to trip over most of the script because you're going to have to ask that question to get to the answer, to get to the motivation, or to get to the timeline. Like, no, I guess, but I'm not that good at this. I just do what I'm taught and it works.
Okay, fair enough.
Good. Mr. Scott, go ahead.
Hey guys, thank you guys for doing this, by the way. Learned a lot. It's also really cool what you guys are doing too. I've been playing around with hiring an executive assistant right now. And so rewind maybe 6 months, the idea of working with my wife was phenomenal. I thought it would be a really, really cool thing to do eventually. Now I'm starting to think of all the pros and all the cons. And one con that comes up is like, for example, in the event, because I want my assistant to take over everything. So probably be fully licensed. If you guys are going on vacation, who's on the phone with your clients and who's doing that stuff? Late evenings, weekends. I have a daughter. And so turning it off and being with family during those times versus wife's doing that. And you know what I mean? So like I'm weighing that. I kind of told her yesterday I was thinking about hiring an executive assistant. She came back and was like, well, I definitely want to do stuff. So I could tell she definitely wants to do some stuff. And so I just wanted your guys' overall opinion on the pros and the cons, hiring someone else versus working with your spouse.
So that is exactly the reason why we actually want to hire an additional person, an executive assistant, because I don't want to be showing houses on the weekend. I don't want to be showing buyers houses at 6 p.m. And I don't want to feel like I need to respond to anyone after 5 p.m. because I have 3 high needs kids and I want to be present and there with them. And I want to have that work-life family balance. So for me to permanently be in that executive assistant position, I don't want that for my life. For exactly the reasons that you said. So I don't know if finding out if your wife would be like interested in doing any sort of lead gen someday would be something to think about, or having her do administrative stuff in the beginning and then maybe doing how we're transitioning over. I'm not really sure, but I see what you're saying, and that's why I don't.
So the goal really is like, we don't want to work for the business, we want to work on the business, and we'll have for the business. Also, a really valuable thing that I learned is don't let your clients make your schedule, and there's no such thing as an emergency in real estate. So
I agree.
Wait till after 11 a.m. or till Monday morning a lot of times. So.
Cool. Right. I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Jacob. Great question, dude. Wyatt, go ahead.
What's up, guys? Appreciate you sharing. I definitely got a lot of nuggets. I had a quick question about your pickiness of taking listings. So I had a situation where I sold the neighbor's house, and one of the neighbors came in and he had one of those personalities that would basically like get on your knees and beg for it. But he was like, have you ever had people like at you like they're gonna sell, but they want you to like beg for it almost? And it wasn't that the house was unsellable. It was like the dude was so off-putting that I was like, dude, I don't even want to meet with you. Have you guys ever ran into that situation? And if so, like looking back, maybe I should have just swallowed my pride and taken that extra listing, or I don't know.
I feel like if your gut was saying no, your gut was probably right. And if they were going to be a very, very difficult client and it felt wrong to you, most likely you were probably right. I don't think we have taken listings that in my gut, I was like, oh, this is not going to be good. And
we're right every time. Like
every time it's a learning lesson though. I will say that, but if it feels really, really wrong, it very well could be.
You can hear that. You can hear that mentality through the phone, and those people I hang up on.
That's the whole part, Wyatt, of like interviewing the seller and interviewing the property and having equal business stature, is that you have a choice in this too. That's the difference between need and want. That's the difference between I want clients, I don't need clients. And therefore, I'm going to have the right to say no as much as they have the right to say no. And that's why you hear in all my scripts, we can decide together if it makes sense to work together or not. And at the end of this, we both have the right to say yes or say no. And so we've got to shift the mindset of giving all the power to the prospect such that you have to get on your knees, right? And then they just become the puppet master, and then you have to play to their tune. We got to shift that. We have to shift that to be, this is my decision too. You know what I mean? I don't have to bring on the client. I don't have to take the listing. I'm in control of my destiny. And we always say, the more you prospect, the less you have to tolerate. So the more prospecting you do, the more appointments you have, the more opportunity you have, that equals higher level of clientele because you're not as desperate. And the exact opposite is true. For agents that don't prospect that much, they take what they can get. And it's usually the crumbs, the worst properties, the worst clients to deal with because they have to.
Yeah. That kind of speaks in my numbers as a percentage of last year. Units is 186% of last year, but volume is 220.
Wow. It's great. Does that make sense, Wyatt?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I really appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, let's get one more from Najiski. Go ahead. You can unmute.
Hi, everyone. I'm new around here, so, this is maybe my second, third call. And I have a question. I mean, all the information you're sharing is pretty awesome. I appreciate it. So what is your process of elimination when you're calling FSBOs? And maybe the second question can be asked, can be answered in the same answer. And do you call FSBOs that you think are overpriced?
Yeah, of course. They don't know what they're doing. So, I'm happy.
Like, how do you convince them?
I'm not convincing anybody of anything. That's not the point. You don't want to convince anybody. You tell them the truth and they can choose to believe it or not. And I guess the process of elimination is deciding if I think this person is worth investing that level of effort into, because some people they'll tell you, like, I'm not paying an agent ever, no matter how much more they can get me. If I make more money, I'm still not. I had a client literally tell me, or a prospect tell me, I don't care if you can get me more money. I'd rather take less money and sell it myself.
That's right.
Oh, wow.
It was in FSBO.
Let me just help you too. And Ian, you and Taylor can speak to this. In the process of being pickier and choosier, at some point in your career, like you heard Ian say, in the beginning of his career, their average price point was 170. Their average price point now was 415. How? They just made a decision. So inside of their database, they use Vulcan 7 to get data. They're just making a decision to not even call any properties that are less than their average list price. So for you, we talked a little about this on the coaching call the other day. It's like, that's just a decision. No one's forcing you to call the $50,000 LLC, leads that we all get. You just make a decision to filter. I'm not even calling anything less than X price. I'm not even calling anything that's not in this area. And then what he's talking about, when he's talking about hand selecting stuff in the morning, what he's learned and what's Taylor's learned is, because Ian's been doing this for a little while, he knows the market. He knows, okay, a property in that neighborhood, in that condition, very sellable. A property in that price point, in that neighborhood, I'm good. And he doesn't even worry about it. So he's hand selecting the best opportunities, not just loading everything up into the dialer and calling everything, because he's losing out on the first 15 minutes of his prospecting session to other agents, versus hand selecting the best opportunities. Because guess what? When you load up the data in whatever system you're using, it doesn't know how to prioritize what you want and what you don't want. It just says, here are the 17 things. It loads it up and you just hit start. By the time you get to something you really want, it's too late. Ian, you want to add to that?
100%. So I know for a fact, like, there's a part of the county, there's a city that we don't prospect because there's so much new construction. There's easily 3,000 homes for sale, on the MLS, and so many more off the MLS. It's unbelievable. 40% of our inventory is in one city.
So we took out.
So we just won't call there. Now we have a listing there because it was my mom's friend's mom, and it's like, okay, like, we'll help you sell your house, but the price gotta be real smoking hot for me to even be willing to invest there, because people need attention from you, and if you're never going to be able to sell their house, like, you're just putting time and effort and energy, something that won't sell. But you got to know your market. really, really well. I've lived here for a long time. I know the market pretty well. And I know the places where houses sell super quick. And I know the places where houses do not sell. And it changes pretty regularly. So a neighborhood that used to be super hot for us, we realize is not so hot anymore. And it's just, you got to roll with the punches.
Cool.
Yes, I appreciate the answers. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, listen, Ian, Taylor, thank you guys. This has been incredible. I mean, just so many good little things. And for the community and for myself, we appreciate you guys doing this.
Thanks for having us. It was awesome.
You guys got it. You guys have an awesome week. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.